Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Bebop here. Today's video is going to be about a build that a lot of y'all have been asking about. A lot of people's been coming in the comments lately, stop telling people to run 50 or less, con and M3s or the Hive because they're just going down all the time, yada, yada, yada. Okay, well, you know what? I'll meet you halfway. I have a build here that will help out a lot and pretty much everybody if they're going to, go melee and they're going to learn the mechanics of the boss fight. This will allow you to go 5 con, still do plenty of damage, and protect you a lot. Now, it won't be maybe widely acceptable, but it is perfectly fine DPS. I wouldn't mind having you in my Hive. And also in M3 group finders, I would rather my DPS go with this build. Random, new players go with this build until they get comfortable with M2s and M3s. Now, I have ran this build in the past. Now, I ran this in Glacial Tarn back in the summer when it was Void, because when I play on Nisa, I do have around 170 ping or so, and the Void snaps really a lot of times, especially when you're running a Greatsword, you don't have time to move, and it just is annoying. I know I did it in a need also, and then people were like, man, why are you in a medium build? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I was still doing just fine damage. And of course, Serenity does help. So I really should have got a great sword that wasn't Serenity and just paired it with the Rapier. So I could have shown you either one's going to do just fine. But if you go with this build, it is the Void Darkplate build. It is 25 or less con. I just stayed at 5 con because I wanted to take a lot of these hits or tank a lot of these hits and show you how much resistance and how well you can survive in this build. Now, you could still do really good damage. This group actually had excellent rend, probably the best amount of rend that I've seen in a pub group the whole time playing the Hive. I was able to hit a 23k with Serenity in medium gear here with the Void Darkplate 5 con. So that just gives you a little insight of one, how powerful Serenity is, but how great rend is and having a good team. I show the stats toward the end of the video and also all the gear. I go over it. Right now, just going to explain what about this build is so good. The 1970 something physical and elemental protection you have is excellent. As you see, that tail will have hit me, but barely took any health, and that's at 5 con. We have a lot of weakening on the boss too, so take that into account. You only lose, I believe it's 10% damage going to medium. So if you're low con and you're in medium, you're way more protected and you could still do really good DPS. Now, the reason a lot of us go low con and light gear is because we've played this game a long time. We know the boss mechanics. We know the ins and outs on what to do and when to dodge. You will still make mistakes. You will get knocked. Yeah, if you're constantly shrining, that is different. If you get knocked every now and then, it is what it is. You're there to do damage. You're not there to hold hands and be a tank, okay? You're there to do damage as a damage dealer. But as we were learning how to get to light gear and low con, we started off in medium gear or maybe light gear, 75, 100 con. I do remember back in the day being like, I don't want any DPS. 'Cause I used to tank all the time. I don't want any DPS unless they're 100 con, in an M10. Because I didn't really know that there were people out there that could actually do it just fine. It was a lot of people I was running with, they just couldn't do it. They were getting killed all the time, and a dead DPS doesn't do DPS. Oh God, if I hear that again, Jesus Christ. Yeah, so anyways, I get a lot of that, but you also need to have the right weakenings on the boss. Enfeebling Skewer Spear and just really the right group composition will help you out survive, or help your DPS out surviving a lot more. It's also, you need to get in there and get your butt whooped over and over just to learn the boss mechanics. I'm like, oh, I should have did this. Oh, I should have prepared for that. I should have known that was coming, or I knew that was coming, but I thought I had time, and you just try to improve. It takes time. If you watch the best speedrun crews in New World, they all get knocked on runs. It happens. They'll have terrible runs, and then you basically hope to get a run where you can put it all together, and that's how you get through it quickly. Now, when I used to speed run with the group, that's exactly what we did. We went lowest con, highest damage we could. We ran routes where you basically weren't allowed a death on some of the dungeons, and everybody had to just get good and put up or shut up, and that's what we did. We were able to do it because you acquire that skill and that experience over time. While you're getting there, go ahead and go with this medium build. Give it a try. I know a lot of people will probably be like, oh my God, don't tell the new players to go medium, blah, blah, blah. This build will actually help them stay alive and do plenty of DPS as long as you have the right weapon perks and honing stones, trophies, and all that. Don't run this build if you don't know about honing stones, trophies, coatings, and you're not basically using some of the best stuff, because you need to be using all that to maximize the damage from this build. But I think a lot of you would be surprised at how good damage it does with the protection. Now here we are about to kill the boss. I don't want this video to run on too long. I'm just going to show you the build after this boss dies. If you're new here, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and feel like, you know, you maybe want to check out some more videos like this, go ahead and go to my channel, check them out. I got a lot of different builds for tanks and DPS and some for healers. So feel free to do that, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Here is the build. All right, let's go over the build setup real quick. Now, when you go medium, a lot of people immediately think featherweight with all heavy pieces, usually Frigid Dawn set. But when you do that, as you see here, I have a heavy piece, heavy piece, heavy piece, and heavy piece. When I put that on, my physical resistance is 1744, same thing with the elemental, okay? A little bit underweight here. A lot of people don't realize right here, you have the light class at 13. When you cross over 13 pounds, you're now in medium. When you cross over 23 pounds, you're now in heavy. This little gap right here is protection you're giving up. I had a person comment on my YouTube yesterday asking about the weight. Why am I paying attention to the weight? Isn't light, light, and medium, medium, and heavy, heavy? Nope. If you are under the weight here, you are losing out on physical elemental protection. As you can see here, when I switch to Void Darkplate, not only do I get the buff from the Void Darkplate, the armor is increased by 20%, but I go basically a little over 200 up on the physical and elemental protection. I'm right at the cap here, 22.9 before crossing over to 23. So we are in medium, but at the max, okay? I set this up originally to run this with the thrust protection amulet, okay? I wanted to see how having 22 slash, 17.5 strike, and 27 thrust would do. It actually worked really well, especially with this equip loadout, the spiders. Really, nothing was really a threat. It was actually pretty amazing. I might actually be sold on this build, guys. But yeah, it was just like, hey, you just go 3 at 5 con and you're not worried about anything. Nothing was really one-shotting me at all. And it was just, I don't know, real easy. A lot of protection. Those spiders do thrust damage. The birds do thrust with the needles that drain your damage really fast. The strike, you know, hits that from the bulls or whatever those things are. You can dodge a lot of that stuff. The slash from the wings of the birds, you can also block, but sometimes they're pretty quick. And if you're in a great sword heavy swing, you know, you're a little bit slow to do some of those things. Now let's go over the gear real quick. It doesn't really matter too much. As long as you have a chain of ward and some refreshing and health or whatnot, you'll be fine. Having a chain of ward, I usually use this piece when tanking, so I have Sundering Shockwave on there. I could replace the bow here throughout the main part of the dungeon and go hammer, but I just kept the bow on. Slash conditioning, chain of ward, refreshing. We're 4 out of 4 refreshing. Chain of ward, refreshing. A chain of ward, refreshing. Then I have Serenity, which you can have a regular great sword with Trenchant Strikes, you know, keen or whatnot, and then just run, you know, Artifact Rapier or Inferno on your back to boost your damage if you want. I have the Enfeebling Poison Shot bow, basically just applying weakening to the targets, along with the people doing the spear and other debuffs, so that way we have some more weakening. Running the Brutal Heart Rune to Detonate, because when the first boss goes down on his back and you use this, it is a lot of damage. I think 15k, 13k around there, depending on how much rend is on the enemy. Now, the second boss, you can go to Vines, and the last boss, you can just do whatever your heart feels, you know, whatever you feel comfortable with. Now, I was running this thrust protection ring at times throughout the main part of the dungeon, and that's about it. I really don't use this often. I usually go with the strike ammy, like I have here. But I think I threw that on the first boss and restatted. So when I throw this on, yeah, I have to take strength food, and it goes right back down to like the 350 dex. And then I am 32.9% strike damage resistant against the first boss. And a lot of his moves you can just easily dodge. You just learn the mechanics. Leeching, hardy, keen awareness with the, you know, Serenity. You're always in power cap, so keen awareness is really good. It's the person doing it in the background. But yeah, fortified toast, refreshing and refreshing toast. Fortified toast is really good with the greatsword because anytime you go into onslaught stance, you're taking 15% more damage, and that is this stance, the aggressive stance. The nature set is 57% nature, but if you're taking a lot of dots, it doesn't matter. You're going to die. Now let's look over the skill trees real quick. The greatsword is as such. Feel free to screenshot. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. And the bow is as such. Feel free to pick whatever you want. I know a lot of people love the explosive arrow. I don't care about it. I don't find it that good, but this is what I like to run. But yeah, so 350 dex dot. That's what's good about having Serenity also, because you got trenchant crits. But even with a regular greatsword, 350 dex is really good for the extra critical chance while empowered. You're always empowered when you have the greatsword, because every time you dodge, or at least with my skill tree, you're going to be empowered. 25 int for the extra damage to backstabs, random critical hits, 5 and 5. Okay. Shouldn't have any problem staying alive there. And if you have a problem staying alive there with 5 con, then, and this whole beefy setup in medium, then I guess go 25 con or just keep doing your thing until you get better. I mean, it is what it is. All right. Thanks for watching the video. Talk to y'all later.